back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. So it is episode 83 of the Mystery Reviews. And wow, we've been 83 episodes. That is going a while, man. And I tell you one thing, it hasn't driven me crazy yet.
That guy's brain is a bag full of cats. You can smell crazy on him.
So, the hints. Hey, Neozoic, good to see you. The hints that I gave for this mystery review were time travel love, one night equals a lifetime's worth, and I believe a 45-year time jump. So, if people haven't guessed it, it is Terminator, the original Terminator. And a lot of people are probably going to say, well, that isn't exactly a romantic story. But I did say when I was doing the romance films or the romance element of mystery reviews is that all the movie really needs is just a single element of romance in it. So with that out of the way, before I get into the beginning of the mystery review, make sure that you all smash that like button. But I gotta warn you, just don't cause any damage, okay?
I'll show you permanent damage, you wee fuck. Kratos!
Yeah. So, also make sure that you share the stream out and make sure that. Oh, seems I dropped my phone somewhere. Hold on one moment. Sorry about that, folks. But yes, if you share out my stream, I will be very proud of you.
This is a new feeling. Pride in someone else.
So yes, I did get that new clip, and I just had to play it. And for anybody who does come into my chat wanting to say any sort of heinous things or accuse me of anything, well,
Shut your fucking mouth! Shut the fuck up, you cunt! Shut it!
yeah, there's that one too. And I have no problem sending these to people if they need them. So yeah. Anyway, The Terminator. A lot of people are saying, well, this isn't exactly a romantic film, as I said. However, I think that Sarah Connor actually did say it perfectly, that she only had one night with him, but she loved a lifetime's worth. And if you pay attention on a psychological level, you actually do catch the moments where she's actually taken with Kyle, where she actually does start falling in love with him. And no, I didn't do Terminator already on a mystery review. I did Terminator 3 on a mystery review, Vanja. And a question, how did I first encounter or exposure to Terminator? I was a child. I was 4 or 5 years old, and I saw it, and then I saw T2 shortly after. thought it was a good movie. Also, it was my second movie where I was exposed to boobs because, oh, Jesus. Hold on 1 second, folks. Anyway, so that was the second movie in which I was exposed to female breasts when I was a young child. But yes, I was about 6, 7, or 6 because Terminator had just come out, or Terminator 2 had just come out, and I had 6 or 7 when Terminator 2 came out on tape. So yeah. Anyway, let's get into it. So the first part of the movie, we get the 2029 puppeteering of Ariel HK. The puppeteering is still flawed. I mean, one of the things that James Cameron would actually do a good job. I mean, the man is psychotic nowadays, but if he would actually go back into his previous films, maybe update a couple of effects here and there, kind of like what they did with T2, with the 4K release and whatnot, and the high definition for the theatrical edition. If they would actually go back to this one for the 4K of this one, update like improved Terminator vision and such, possibly even add a couple of elements, kind of like what they did with the special edition of Star Wars, this movie would actually be a whole lot better. The puppeteering of the Ariel HK, where it kind of stops, backs, and kind of does a 3-point turn, that is a flaw that is just right in the beginning of the movie. However, the future of war and establishing the future war is actually quite well done. Now, to clear up the confusion, I did discuss Terminator with Mara on her channel, and I have discussed Terminator with others. I'm giving my own solo review of Terminator now, Vanja. So yeah, we then get the text in the beginning of the movie. The machines rose from the ashes of nuclear fire. Their war to exterminate mankind has raged for decades. But the final battle would not be fought in the future. It would be fought here in our present, tonight. And then we get the iconic title sequence. Now, the beginning of this movie is iconic with the guy picking up trash and the truck shutting off. You're like, what the hell? And then you see the electrical storm that precedes the arrival of the Terminator. And we don't know whether or not this guy is bad or good. So yeah, at first you don't know whether or not Arnold Schwarzenegger is a bad guy or a good guy. So I do like how it kind of is left ambiguous for a moment until he gets up to the 3 punks played by Bill Paxton, Brian Thompson, and Brad Reardon. Now, this scene does a good job at showing that this is not a good guy because he literally puts his arm like this far into that dude's stomach, basically effectively killing him. How you compare Terminator to other Arnold Schwarzenegger films such as T2, Conan, Total Recall, Predator, True Lies, Running Man in terms of quality and performance for Arnold? Well, I haven't seen The Running Man, and the rest of them, Terminator is where he shines. T2 is where he shines even more. Total Recall, Predator, The action movies that are heavy, True Lies, he is very, or he does back in the 80s and 90s, he was a top actor, and he actually had the range, and he actually did a very good job. His voice, while back in the 80s he didn't have a lot, or he wasn't very good at English yet, he still maintained a good job at it. So I thought that he did a good job in all those films. Honestly, I would rate Terminator among one of the top Arnold Schwarzenegger movies out there, even though he is literally the villain in it. So the punks, yeah, when he gets the clothes from the punks and he brutally kills one of them, I mean, it's clearly, or they did a good job at establishing that. Now, I do like the opposite parallel of Kyle's arrival and his actions compared to the Terminator's arrival and its actions, where the Terminator's arrival was soft and violent, where he arrives not in pain, but also is very violent when it comes to the three guards, or the three punks rather. You have the arrival of Kyle Reese, which he arrives quite violently and drops into or onto the street because he was he came through at an elevated level, and his actions are restrained. He's not fighting to kill any of the cops, and he doesn't seek to kill those around him. Also, we get the small error of May 12th being a Thursday in the movie. However, May 12th, 1984 was actually a Saturday. So we then get to Sarah Connor's introduction. Now, I am going to cover, or I know I'm breezing through the movie, folks, but I do want to cover more of the psychological aspect of Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese's relationship, as this is, or that is the romantic part of the film. So if I do seem that I am breezing through, that is by design. So this might also be a shorter mystery review, just to let you all know, because of that. So we get the introduction to Sarah Connor, and she is a 19-year-old going about her job, punching in, and then we see the Terminator stealing a car, and Sarah's screwing up at her job. We see that how she is screwing up orders, and this kid just puts a dump of freaking ice cream in her waitress pocket, which is like, good going, kid. I ought to give you the tips. Like, dude, you are such a fucking asshole. But yes, we then see Dick Miller from Gremlins. He's the gun owner. And it's a great scene that also has a mention of the future weaponry with the phased plasma rifle and the 40-watt range, and the Terminator timed the grab for the shells quite perfectly, but still got caught. Because as soon as Dick Miller turns, or as soon as he begins his turn and his eyes are out of, or his vision is no longer covering the front, is when the Terminator starts reaching for the shotgun shells, which is pretty cool. How do you feel about the whole plagiarism of It Copies Outer Limits episode, Soldier and Demon? And I don't have a comment on that, because I honestly have no idea about what that even means. Sorry, Neozoic. And then he ends up killing him because he does catch him loading the weapon. Hey, Jack of all casuals, and Janet from another planet. I absolutely love it when you stop in, and hope you have a wonderful time at the gym. Always looking fine. So, yep, Terminator. This is, or it has a romantic element, so it comes into the movie, or it fits into the requirement of the month. Now, Kyle cuts the stock on the shotgun and attaches a rope to measure in case somebody tries pulling the shotgun from him. He has the rope to pull it back, which they do a nice little call back, or call forward rather, in the future, to where he learns the trick from a Terminator hybrid named Marcus Wright. Now, we also get the PTSD dream, where he's seeing construction equipment and falling asleep, and then dreaming of his future, where he is bombing terrestrial HKs, meaning the ground ones, losing the female partner and I do like how these scenes were shot because they really do. The set dressing of the future war is really freaking done well. They really do make it look as if the whole place is just freaking ravaged, man. That is one thing I really do like about the future wars, or the future war of Terminator 2 and Terminator. And I do have a video of, or which I'm going to have to update one of these days. I'm really going to have to update of how I would do the Terminator series or the sequels. I'm going to have to, or because I do have a video on how I would do Terminator sequels after 2, to basically make it a full circle. But yes, the future war ruins would definitely feature heavy into it. So, he then wakes up, drives off. We get Sarah and Ginger preparing for a date, and then Matt, who is played by the actor who plays Slider in Top Gun, he comes in, and the date is called off because the guy that was going to take out Sarah bails at the last minute, and we then see her going out by herself, and Kyle is shadowing her. And we also see the cops who are learning about the Terminator killing Sarah Connors in the exact order of the phone book. And he asks for a cig as he already has one. Lance Henriksen is great in this film as well. I mean, special effects still held up today. Yes, they honestly really do. The atmosphere made it look like a possible future during a Cold War. Exactly. And Lance Henriksen, he's like, that coffee is 4 hours cold. And Trax was like, mm-hmm. And I put a cigarette out in it. It's some controversy that the writer of Outer Limits, Harland Ellison, stated that although he loved the Terminator movie, he felt that the screenplay was based off of his story in Outer Limits. Well, I've never even seen any episode of Outer Limits, so I wouldn't really know. Also, timing is everything. If his writing was established at the time, then he has a case. Other than that, he really doesn't. Now, one of the things I do like is when Sarah learns that 2 Sarah Connors have been killed, the suspense grows as Sarah's fear grows. The music does a good job at explaining this as she learns that other Sarah Connors were killed. And then her run to Tech Noir and hiding there. Now the Terminator, with the Terminator showing up at her house and killing Matt and Ginger. The fight is slightly flawed in this scene because you see that Matt, the actor who plays Matt, tackles the Terminator's leg and lifts him up where he's going down, grabbing the legs and lifting up. Terminator's weigh 600 pounds. He would not be able to do that. The Terminator would just grab him and then just freaking either stone cold stun him or just flop him. He wouldn't be able to lift the Terminator. So didn't her twin sister do a couple of scenes in this movie? I do believe so. I believe they were scenes of her running. However, I do know that her twin sister, played a more prominent role in the second movie where she played stunt double and mirror double, as well as real Sarah Connor for one scene at the end. So yes, her twin sister played heavily in the second one. I think she only was in a couple of scenes in the first one, though. And not where you could see her face. And Linda Hamilton, I will say this, 80s and 90s Linda Hamilton was peak freaking beauty. She was hotter than back then. And even now, she still maintains some of her beauty. I mean, she has gone nuts. She does have mental problems. but she still does have a little bit of her beauty left in her. And that's the wonderful thing about her. She has natural beauty as well as her or beauty that's enhanced by makeup, as other people I know as well do too, like Janet. So we then get the Terminator showing up after he kills her, or he learns who she is and what she looks like, and she's at Tech Noir. And there's a moment where she knocks something over, and she goes down to pick it up just as the Terminator is walking by, which is a nice little holy crap moment. Her life was saved by literally knocking something over, you know? So then we get Kyle Reese shooting at her, or shooting at the Terminator, now that the Terminator zeroed in on her, and we get the fight. And we get him basically the way that, or kind of terrorizing her in a way during the whole runaway. Yeah. And we get the famous line, "Come with me if you want to live." Now, a lot of people don't realize this, but the explosion that Kyle Reese causes in the alleyway literally burns off the Terminator's eyebrows, which it's like, wow, this is just insane. Because when the Terminator punches through the windshield and is then thrown from the vehicle, you see him have no eyebrows. They put prosthetic makeup over the eyebrows to make them look like they got cinched off, which is pretty cool. Now, the aspect or the dynamic between Sarah and Kyle, where she doesn't believe him, she thinks he's nuts. She's trying to get away. But his level of conviction is what convinces her that she may be in trouble. He may not be a nutcase after all. He may be telling the truth. Because when he says, "Listen and understand," and gives the whole Terminator is out there, he can't be bargained with, reasoned with, doesn't feel pity, that bit. And she says, "Can you stop it?" And the way that she says it in that very kind of broken way, that tells her that tells the audience, maybe he's not crazy. Maybe I am in danger. And oh my God, if I'm going to hang around with this guy, can he keep me safe? Now, he tells her more about after they switch vehicles and ditch the car. He tells her about the future and where he comes from and whatnot. And her curiosity helps establish that she is believing this. She has no reason not to at this point. Yes, it sounds crazy. Yes, it is absolutely unbelievable. But she is curious as to whether or not it is true. And she understands that John Connor, the one who turned life around in the future and brought humanity back from the brink, and she's like, she asks other questions like, "Did you see this war?" And he's like, "No, I grew up in the ruins after." And it makes a person wonder, does she believe him, or does she think he's a kook? Now, she doesn't make any effort to try to escape after this. Yes, she's brought back to the police station after they're caught and after the Terminator reacquires them. And hold on one second. There we go. Sorry, there was something on my lip that I had to get off. But yes, we get Earl Bowen. Rest in peace, Earl Bowen. He recently passed this year. But yeah, Earl Bowen comes in, makes Kyle Reese out to be a nutcase, but she also does question the police. What about when he punched through the windshield? Because they're trying to go over the logics of it. This man was probably wearing body armor when he attacked you. And Lance Henriksen's like, or when he punches through the windshield, what about that? And he's like, probably was on PCP, would have broken every bone in his hand and not felt a thing for hours. You see this scar? And so he hands him the body armor to get him to shut up. And yes, that is a very famous line in this. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or fear or remorse or fear, and it absolutely will not stop ever until you are dead. So, one of the things that they don't explain or show in the movie, but I believe there is a novel of the Terminator out there, is that Traxler does believe in this story. He thinks that there might be some truth to it, you know? He feels that this man's conviction with his story has merit. What if this does happen? It's not completely out of the realm of possibility, you know? So you then have the shoot up at the police station. Now, one of the things I do like, he goes in, and after he's been rebuffed by the desk officer, he's looking around like this. And then he leans forward with the "I'll be back." Now, when he's doing that and he's looking as back far as he can, he's not only searching for Sarah. When he's looking at the barrier between him and that cop, he's scanning the structural integrity. That is why I say that this movie would have done good with some thermovision or improved thermovision, because you see that this would actually show. And if you look at the Terminator vision in this movie, besides the proper scanning responses to and looking at the Big Bear address, that scene has good thermovision. Everything else, when it's tracking Sarah Connor and Kyle through the alley, when it's any other scene in which you see Terminator vision, the shootout at the cops, it is nothing but repetitive scanning and repetitive words. There's a deleted scene where Kyle and Sarah encounter Ed after the police shootout. Ed hands over the gun to Kyle, which implies Ed believes Kyle's story and told him to protect Sarah. Yeah. Yep, that's it. That's what I was talking about earlier. And so I have a split lip, folks, and it hurts like hell at times. But they managed to escape. And now remember, Sarah has been told by a clinical psychologist or psychiatrist that Kyle Reese is a freaking loon. He should not be trusted or anything like that. But when when the whole place is getting shot up and Reese calls out for her, she goes to him. Now, they escape, they ditch the car, and they're under a cul-de-sac or sort of thing. And she does her first field dressing. She's learning more about her son. And she's like, you're talking about things I haven't done yet in the past tense. It's driving me crazy. And she doesn't want this. She doesn't want to be the mother of the future, you know? And it was a chance to meet the legend. She's like, did you or why were you chosen or what? I volunteered. Chance to meet the legend, you know? And John gave me or him a picture of her. So yes, at this point, John Connor did not know who his father was. The John Connor in that future, I'm guessing, does not know who his father is. However, it does turn out to be Kyle after because of that event. Would you say that Sarah and Kyle are star-crossed lovers? Star-crossed, not so much, because star-crossed lovers are separated yet still alive, so to speak. They're doomed to never be together again. Yes, maybe it can be a yes after he dies, but as she said, we may have only had that one night, but we loved a lifetime's worth, you know? Sorry. My lip again. So, yeah, I guess it can be star-crossed lovers. So, she then dreams of the future and the Terminator and Kyle Reese. Now, she doesn't, or something tells me this is more of a memory other than what she is dreaming, because this is something that Kyle Reese is doing, and plus the photo. He didn't say anything about the photo to her yet. So there's no way that she would have dreamt about it, you know? So I'm guessing that he was talking about it and it led into him remembering something while she slept. Really a chicken or egg scenario. What if he sent someone else? Would John ever be born? Very possible that John would have been born by someone else later on. Who knows? But also, he volunteered because he also was in love with Sarah. He knew, or he wanted to meet her, yes, but he also fell in love with her, which he admits at the hotel. I love you, or I came back through time for you, Sarah. I love you, and I always have. I'm guessing that was essentially John's, or that could be John's goal. Who knows what happened in that future? Because the way that it is described in this film is that John was also in the camps with Kyle. He taught us to storm the metal or storm the fences and get over the wire, and he turned it around. I'm guessing at one point John Connor was rounded up in the future as a prisoner himself. I'm pretty sure that if you looked at John Connor's future self, he would also have the burned-in laser scanner of the barcode. There's a lot of things that people don't catch about that. He taught us to fight back, to survive, to storm the fences and escape, and he taught us to fight, and he turned it around. So yes, we do get the scene where at this point there is such an emotional tension. There's fear, and her, at first, she does pity Kyle. She's like, there's so much pain, because she's looking at his back, and then this person who has basically had such conviction. A lot of people don't realize this, but if a person is infatuated with another person and that person catches on to it, that person will eventually, most likely, in all likelihood, succumb to those feelings and reciprocate them. It is called an imprinting, where they imprint on the person who is showing that affection to them with such intensity that it can be felt by both. That is literally, most likely, what happened here. That she actually, or he loved her so much, and even though he terrorized her in the beginning and scared the hell out of her, she ended up falling in love with him. And we get the scene, and a lot of people don't realize this, but believe it or not, there is psychology in sex. If you take a look at certain elements of that scene, the sex scene, how their hands are intertwined like this and whatnot, you understand there is a deeper connection other than the act itself. This is lovemaking. This isn't just mindless fucking, you know? This is absolutely them falling in love with each other and basically consummating that love. So, yes, she is at this point beyond doubting him ever. Also, she knows it with what she has seen her own self. She knows that this guy was shot by a 12-gauge shotgun, pounded through a windshield, frickin' survived being shot up in a police station, and also continues to chase them. And then later on, it removes all doubt because the thing burnt to death and got back up with just a skeleton, you know? So, yes, we see how she is hurt when Kyle is hurt, how she has genuine care about Kyle when he gets shot in the gut from the Terminator, how they think it's finally over, but when the Terminator gets back up after burning, after the final chase and whatnot, it's like she's ready to fight this thing, but she is or how is she going to fight it, you know? So when Kyle tells her run, she's like, no, she doesn't want to leave him. She loves him. But he realizes, or she also realizes, what's about to happen is that he's about to put one last bomb in that thing's body. Those bombs are essentially TNT. One stick of TNT ignited or exploding against a person at 5 to 10 yards is lethal. He was not even a full yard away from that Terminator when that thing went off. No way that Kyle Reese was surviving that. Dude, that metal skeleton scene scared me as a kid. Yeah, it scared me, or scared the hell out of me too, man. It showed that this thing was absolutely relentless, even without skin. It was coming after them. It does scare you. And so when she gets up, or when she's sees Kyle dead, she's broken from it, you know? And yes, there is also the scene earlier or a deleted scene in where she fights Kyle because she wants to go to Cyberdyne and blow the shit out of him. She basically has that idea at that time in 1984. But Kyle Reese is like, are you out of your fucking mind? You know? And he actually points a gun at her in that scene too, because of the PTSD in his own head at the time. So, hey, Kamen Rider, good to see you. And yeah. So yeah, after she finally terminates the Terminator and she's making the tapes for John, she does tell him, should I tell you about your father? Would it affect your decision to sending him back in time to protect me, knowing that he is your father? Did you wish the movie should have included all deleted scenes in the first place? No, I do not. Some scenes do belong in the movie. Some scenes, I understand why some people would think don't belong in the film. The scene in which he does pull a gun on her when she fights him, that would actually confuse the audience. Remember, you're not dealing with people who delve or who emotionally invest in movies. Not everybody does that. You have people like you, me, Neozoic, and the people in this chat who actually do delve into these movies, who actually do look into this stuff, who knows this stuff, so we can understand certain things here and there, yes. But to a general moviegoer, they would not understand that deleted scene. That would actually confuse most general audiences. Vanja, yes, I know I skipped a lot of the movie. That is by design. Like I said, this is going to be a shorter. Uh, this is going to be shorter because I was talking more about the romantic aspect of the film. Now, and it's all right, Camping Rider. The dude, guess what? Dragon Ball X. Dragon Ball X, One Piece, Toriko. I have no idea what that stuff is, Cameron Rider. I mean, I know Dragon Ball and One Piece, but I don't know what Toriko crossover special is. Whatever. There was the lead scene at the end where when Sarah is being taken away after the fight, the camera pans up at the building they fought with Cyberdyne. And that's also, or that would explain how Cyberdyne got their hands on the arm and the chip. But yes, when she also tells him, I think I will tell you because I owe him that. And even though we had that one moment together, we loved a lifetime's worth. That does tell you that she did get taken with him. She did fall in love with him. And that's simply a confirmation. And yes, we get the picture, which does later go to Kyle in the future so that he can see who she is. And that's the end of the film. Now, as I said, yes, I did skip over a lot of the film, but I do want to go into the more romantic aspect of Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese, because this man went back in time to save a woman he has never met yet was madly in love with. Or chances are he never got with, or according to him, he never found any woman in the future that met his expectations or that could basically ignite that inside of him, where Sarah Connor, this picture that he has carried of John Connor's mother, why would John Connor give him that picture? It does question, did John Connor know that his father is Kyle Reese? Or did John Connor just give him the picture? Who knows? I'm guessing that there is in all likelihood, John Connor gave Kyle Reese that picture in the future so that he would fall in love with Sarah and then volunteer. Because then he's creating somebody who he knows and trusts to send back to protect his mother. And maybe even create him. Or it's a 50-50 of whether or not he knew that Kyle Reese was his father in the first future war in which everything happens where Judgment Day happens on August 29th, 1997. The future happens. Sarah Connor is raising her son in this war. They end up becoming prisoners themselves, yet Connor finds his heroism in that future, turns it around. But now, in the future, if it still happens, John Connor is now armed with the knowledge to fight that war. It is a lot you can go into. But with Kyle Reese going back, finding this woman, loving this woman, yet he doesn't come across as a creepy stalker. He comes across as a man who wants to who needs to defend this woman because the future of the world depends on it. And so, but also it's basically a bonus because he's also loves this woman, which is only going to make him want to protect her even more. And how can somebody like that not fall in love with somebody who is willing to die for you, to protect you, who literally jumped 40 freaking 5 years across time to protect you? How does one not feel some sort of draw or reciprocation to those affections? It really is a good question that I do believe bears investigating, you know? That is why I say that there is a romantic element to the Terminator. This man jumped 45 years across time to be with a woman that he never met personally, but still somehow fell in love with because of that picture. That's fucking dedication, man. And hello, Hex Allen Comics. Good to see you. And so, yes, folks, that is going to round up now Terminator. Objectively, without bias, I am a fan of the Terminators movies. Not all of them, but most of them. Objectively speaking, Terminator 1 is a 7 out of 10. Some of the special effects do hold up. However, some of them do not. And that or when you have repetitive thermovision that has absolutely useless scrawl, except for in one scene where it's scanning for a proper response to say "fuck you, asshole" and look at the Big Bear address. That's it for the Terminator vision that was normal. So yes, that takes away from the immersion into the film. Yo, Orange Hat, my phone about to die, but I had to stop by and roundhouse kick the like button. Thank you, Iman. Good to see you, man. Question: do you wish Terminator should have stayed as a duology with T1 and T2 and nothing less? Yes. However, if sequels were made, T3, while corny, has the best ending because you need the future war. If you are going to make sequels to the Terminator franchise, folks, after T2, you still need the future war. You still need the future war. You need the dark ending. You need Judgment Day to happen. And John Connor, in order to survive, needs to send Kyle Reese back in time. Because if you do save the future and change it, once 2030 or 2029 or whenever he sends Kyle back in time, the moment they reach that moment in a peaceful future, John Connor ceases to exist. People people will remember him, sure, the ones who interacted with him, but he will fade into the paradoxical or it's what's known as paradoxical erasure. The moment that defined his existence was when he sent Kyle Reese back in time. So if he doesn't send Kyle Reese back in time in a peaceful 2029 or a peaceful 2030, guess what? He ceases to exist. That's one thing that is honestly what I think would happen, the paradoxical erasure. There needs to be a full circle. 2 sequels for Terminator 2. A third one in which they have to battle a T-1000 or another T-1000 with another T-800, another Uncle Bob, instead of the one that sacrificed itself at the end of 2. But this one is also made or went back to 1997 in order to prepare or in order to ensure that there is a way to keep Sarah and John from dying come the new Judgment Day. Also, they have to destroy the T-1000 in order to ensure that it does not inform Skynet when Skynet is activated of who John Connor is before then. Then we get a little bit or a time jump after Judgment Day happens. We see them fighting. We see them rescuing or going after a prison camp and rescuing a kid, but an older Sarah Connor is dead. She dies in that engagement, but at the end of that movie, Kyle Reese is rescued. And she actually does rescue him. She's older. She doesn't or he doesn't understand who she is yet, but she does die. She gets like blasted in the back by a Terminator as she's getting Kyle to safety. And that's how that movie would end. The next movie would take place further into the future with or about a year or two before getting to the time displacement equipment. And it would end with them sending Kyle, Uncle Bob, and the other Terminator back to ensure that that one would be or to ensure that everything goes the way it should go. It has to be a perfect circle to ensure that John Connor lives past 2029. Those are how I would do it. I could get more in depth with it. Honestly, that would be a great stream for another time where people could actually workshop it, But anyway, folks, I do got to get going because I got to get dinner and I got to make myself up some dinner. And then going to watch, or if the Barroom podcast on Society Reviews channel is tonight, if it is live, it's going to be at 9 p.m. I'm going to be on it. If not, you can also watch OMB Reviews. He does a stream every Tuesday at 7. He does some good content too. That's where you'll see me in the chat, modding the chat. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Kamen Rider, Iman, Vanja, Neozoic, Hex Allen Comics, Jack of All Casuals, and a few others, I do believe. Janet from Another Planet, thank you for stopping in. And that is all. Thank you so much for coming in, folks. You are all amazing and beautiful people. Make sure to share this out. Smash the like button. Watch some more of or check out my playlists. I cover a lot of different discussions. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Orange Chat Reviews. You are all freaking amazing people. Always remember to stay humble.